Hey everybody, it's Captain Kyle and I have here the Combiner Wars Constructicons. Now I've already done a review on them, but I noted that they have no weapons. Guess what? I got some weapons. These I picked up on eBay for like 25 bucks. I'm gonna try them out in these guys, see how they fit, and we'll see if they're good substitutes for the massive oversight on Hasbro's part. Be right back. So as I was saying, these guys are good. I mean, there's a lot of third-party Devastators that people seem to like more than these guys, but these are still a very cool set. But they didn't come with individual weapons. And for 25 bucks, these appear to be like 3D printed or specially molded, but they're substitutes. So let's see how they do. Now we're gonna start with Bonecrusher's weapon because, well, he was the first Constructicon I ever had when I was younger, and he's always had kind of a good space in my heart. Now, I'm looking at these and I'm trying to determine which go to which. And going by memory, these are pretty close to the molds of the originals. I think that's right, but we are gonna double check on each one. So this is what I believe is the gun for Bonecrusher, based on the fact that it's very similar to the G1. Now it's not exact, as you can see with the inlay, but it's still pretty close. Now let's see how it fits. Putting it in, seems to fit perfectly fine. You can aim it. Now his original gun was lime green, this one is purple. In fact, the original gun, some of them were lime green, some of them happen to be black. Fun fact, Scavenger used Hook's gun in Transformers the movie to kill Prowl. I don't know why the switch, but it's there. But apparently when they were making these guns, they did not want to go with the original colors just because it was probably a pain to change the material out. So they went with purple, which, considering it's Devastator, it does make sense. Now the purple is a little lighter. It's kind of hard to see in the camera, but it's a little lighter than the purple of his fists. And it doesn't have as much of a shine, but it's a decent gun. And it's better than him having no gun at all. So Bonecrusher's doing pretty well, he's armed. Now this, I believe, is what is meant for Scrapper. Now, there were no labels on any of these guns, but this is pretty close to what he had. Again, there are differences. It's reminiscent. I don't know if it was an artistic choice or they're trying not to get in trouble with Hasbro by making oversized guns using the exact same design. But this is one I believe would be for Scrapper. So let's bring him over, and it's a little tight. And because of how his wrist is, it doesn't insert fully. I mean, I could swap out one of the other guns. It's not like they're exact, but overall it fits and it works. It's a gun. He can shoot Autobots or throw it down when he's trying to convince, Grapple and Hoist to build a solar power tower. Again, it's the same shade of purple, which is a little lighter than the purple that's on the robot itself. But I'm not going to complain too much. It does have a little bit of a raw, unfinished look. It's not as shiny, but it's still overall a good gun. Now this one I believe is Hook's gun. Again, it looks very similar, but like the sight has a point on it. Doesn't necessarily look like Flash. So they've made some slight modifications to it, but it's still very reminiscent of the gun. A little tight going in, but there it is. I'm not going to mention every time that the purple's not the same shade. I think we figured that out by now. But overall, a good gun. It's got, instead of just a flat nozzle, it actually has a barrel, which is a nice touch. You can see the mold line, so it looks like this wasn't necessarily 3D printed. It's some kind of mold. And you can see them on the top and the bottom of the gun. Not super noticeable, but if you look close. Now this is the gun that is most reminiscent of Mixmaster's. But this looks very close to what he had, so let's see if we can arm Mixmaster. Yep, goes in fine, little tight, but then again, that's better than floppy. That didn't sound right. Again, you can see the lines on the mold. I guess it was molded half and half, pushed together, cooked, or whatever they do, cured, and then removed. It's got a little bit of shine to it, but it's not as smooth. People are not gonna look at these guns and think, oh, those must be the guns that came with them. Because while they're not bad quality, they're not quite manufactured in mass by Hasbro quality. But still, it's good. So I kind of wish they'd actually included trumpets too. I'm sure they're somewhere. Now this is the one that's likely for Scavenger. Now, As you can see, it's a little bit different. It actually has an interesting little hole in the top of the gun. I don't know if you're supposed to put a string through it, but again, reminiscent, and that slides in and out pretty easily. I mean, it doesn't fall out, but it's definitely not as tight as the other ones, which is not a bad thing. But he does have a gun now, he can shoot, and it is reminiscent of... Okay, it did fly up. Get back here. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to say that this one, just be careful. It seems maybe to fit better in his left hand than his right for some reason. Or maybe if I just push it in a little further or twist it a little bit. This one, again, a little loose, but a couple ways to solve that. You could put a light coating of glue or some type of purple paint on it. You could even paint it black. Yeah, that's a song. But if you give it a thin coat of black paint, let it dry, maybe a glossy black paint, it'll thicken up the handle just a little bit. It'll fit in his hand better and be reminiscent of the original gun. It does seem to have some flash inside the barrel. Probably scrape that out with a blade. I do have to say, while these guns are pretty cool, it looks like they manufacture them and kind of ship them out pretty quickly. They don't take the time. I mean, they could have scraped a little bit more of the edges from the molds off. And that's up to you. If you want to take a razor blade and make them look a little bit better, maybe even paint them, that's up to you. Though on some of them, the handles are very tight, so you might not want to paint the handle. Still, other than that one, it's been pretty good so far. Now this is the only one left, so it's got to be for long haul. And I have to say, it really kind of, it's not as reminiscent as the others of the original gun. However, looking at the other ones, I don't see anything that's closer. Maybe Mixmasters, but even Mixmasters is closer to Mixmaster's original gun. So let's see how this fits. A little tight, but it fits in there. And now Long Haul does have a weapon. It's not quite exactly like his original, but he can now be a warrior because he didn't join this outfit to be no dump truck, even though he's a dump truck. So overall, on the smaller guns, I definitely say they're a good representation, though not exact, of the original G1 Constructicon weapons. Again, the only problematic one is Scavenger, and he's always been a bit of a whiner. Though it seems pretty good right now. I guess if you twist it a little bit, some of that flash might help, but it does come out very easily. So again, you might want to make some slight modifications. You can even take a thin piece of tape and put it around the handle if you didn't want to paint it, and push it in, and that would probably be fine. I remember doing a number of things with my original G1 Transformers when things didn't quite fit or stay the way I wanted. But I know what you want to see. You want to see Devastator. So I'm going to get these guys into Devastator mode, and then we're going to compare that weapon. And now finally, we have the big guy. Now let's see how the replacement gun works for him. I mean, I certainly don't mind the one that comes with it. It is pretty large. This one, let's see how it fits. I mean, it does fit in his hand, but it seems small, and it doesn't really fit very well because it has this back part right here that kind of interferes with it inserting all the way into his hand. So on this gun, I'm gonna say I would rather go with the one that came with Devastator. So out of the guns, this one I'd say is definitely the weakest, just because of its shape, and I don't know what they were thinking when they molded it, really. What were they thinking? So that's the replacement weapons for the mostly unarmed Combiner Wars Devastator, except of course for his big gun, which I wouldn't recommend with the small ones. I mean, if you don't have guns, having something is nice, right? I did put a link in the description for finding these. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and be sure to come in next time when we have another review. We have other videos that you can check out, and you know, you can do the subscribe thing and all the other YouTube stuff, but definitely give us a like. We'll see you next time, and as always, have fun and good hunting.